It's Tottenham versus Wolves this weekend in the Premier League. It should be a very good game, and I'm joined by always for the opposition preview by an opposition fan. So I'm joined by Dan. Dan, thank you very much for joining me. Talk to people a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge Wolves fan. I've been a fan for 30 years now. So I've been through all the highs and lows of being a Wolves fan. I primarily am on social media as a fantasy Premier League account. So I do a lot of content around fantasy Premier League, primarily focusing on Wolves.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. I mean, your page is doing really well, nearly at 18k followers. So
Yeah, yeah.
incredible work. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you very much for joining us. It should be, as I said, a good one. So, without further ado, we'll get into it. If you're new, please do like and subscribe. For listening via audio, a podcast platform, please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. So, Dan, let's start by looking at your season so far. And as I said to you, in the green room, apologies to put you through this. So, so far for Wolves to date in all competitions, I'll be a bit fairer to you. I will do all competitions. So, opening day, Wolves 0, City 4, first game of the Premier League season. Then Bournemouth 1, Wolves 0. Wolves 3, West Ham 2, that's in the Carabao Cup second round. Wolves 2, Everton 3. Newcastle 1, Wolves 0. Wolves 1, Leeds 3. And then the Carabao Cup third round, Wolves 1 2-0 at home to Everton. So across all competitions, you've lost 5 games and won 2, 0 drawn, which is interesting. You've scored 8 goals in all competitions and conceded 14. However, in the league, it's not quite as good reading because 20th in the Premier League, 5 straight losses, 0 points from 5 games, 3 goals scored only, and 12 conceded. You conceded in every single game with a negative 9 goal difference, which is the lowest in the league. So, can I get your thoughts so far on what's gone wrong?
I mean, what's gone right, to be honest, mate? You know, at Wolves, the problems really start at the top. We've been on a downward trajectory for a few years now under Fosun and Jeff Shee. We haven't been making good signings. We haven't been running the club properly. Um, we brought in Vita Pereira towards the end of last season, and I think we saw a nice uptick in form. Some nice wins. We ended up staying up comfortably, but the preseason was not looking good. We've sold like Mateus Cunha, Ryan Aitnuri, even players like Pablo Sarabia, even though they didn't start. As you know, as a Tottenham fan, um, he's good to come on and score goals when we need them, and we've lost players like him too. So
Hmm.
the main problem with Wolves right now is we're really lacking any kind of identity, any kind of we don't know our best 11, we don't know our best formation. So it's just been a really struggle. I'm usually pretty good at predicting the starting 11, and it's just almost impossible right now because I don't even think the manager knows his best 11. And
Hmm.
it depends if you're a positive fan or a negative fan. Because if you look at some of those fixtures, 4-0 at Man City, fair enough. Anyone can lose 4-0 to Man City. 1-0 away to Bournemouth. Again, anyone can lose 1-0 away to Bournemouth. The Everton result, we were very close to getting a result there. That was kind of a big loss at home to Everton, but Everton are proving to be a better team. Then we lost 1-0 away to Newcastle. Again, it's not a disaster to lose at St James's Park 1-0. So I was still feeling kind of positive at that point, but then obviously last weekend we were at home to Leeds. We really needed to win that game. We went 1-0 up looking really good, and then we just capitulated and lost 3-1. So now I'm heading towards the negative side of things. I'm getting really worried.
That's understandable. When you play a newly promoted team and you're losing to them, it's frustrating for any club, especially when you're in the position you are down the bottom of the table. So I appreciate your honesty more than anything with that. But in terms of area of the pitch, you speak about like identity and it, being a big problem and best 11, etc. But if I said to you, defense or attack, what's the biggest issue at the moment out of those two?
Probably attack, because I know we've conceded a lot. I know we let in some really poor goals. However, I think we have some quality defenders there, and as long as Vita Pereira gets his formation right and his personnel correct, I think we have the skeleton of a strong defense there. However, in attack, we've lost so much creativity. We've signed John Arias, we've signed Fer Lopez, But for some reason, Vita Pereira is refusing to give them minutes. We insist on playing players like Marshall Minetzi, who just he's a good box to box midfielder, but he's not a creative player. So we're really lacking that creativity. I would say
Mm.
that's our biggest problem, as you can see by the fact we've only scored 8 goals in the league.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you have a good attack as well, it relieves the pressures, doesn't it, on your defence? And you lose someone like Cunha in attack, in my opinion, anyway, and Ryan Nori in defence, then you're losing, for me, two top players in both departments. That's always going to be a blow for whatever club, even if they're, a gigantic club. But you speak about leaning towards the more negative side. That's understandable. But deep down, do you have any sort of belief that you can turn it around? You get a result maybe in the game like this, which we'll get on to, where it's a little bit maybe unexpected against a top six side that can really boost your confidence and kind of get your season up and running.
Yeah. I still do have some confidence that we can stay up. My worry is that the promoted teams this season are a lot better than they were last season. Sunderland are looking good, Leeds are looking strong. I think Burnley are going to go down. I'm not worried about them. But you look at the teams around us, and everyone's doing pretty well. We're relying on 3 teams to be worse than us, and right now I don't see 3 teams that are worse than us. Potentially Burnley, potentially West Ham, but I don't see anyone else. Um, I do think we have the core of a very strong team. I think somewhere in the squad is a mid-table finish. We're just refusing to find the best formation, the best tactics to get those results. So
Thank you for that. And before we do get on to the game, your manager, which you did reference, Victor Pereira, signed a long-term contract. So, yeah, your long-term future is committed. It's been secured. That new deal's until 2028 now. So, firstly, were you surprised by this, considering the timing of the announcement more than anything? And do you agree with it? Because, of course, tends to be a people's person, and he seems to be very popular. Let's go back before a ball was kicked this season. Very popular among the kind of fan base. We're seen as that guy, goes to the pub and has a pint.
yeah, I mean he's a popular manager amongst fans for sure, but the timing of that deal was very strange. After all of these losses in a row, the poor performances, the fact that he can't get his tactics right now, to reward him with a new contract, I think it was just very strange timing. I'm not sure why that decision was made. Um, I'm on the fence about him. Like he's starting to worry me with his tactics and the team selections he's making. It's kind of worrying me because like I said earlier, I do think we have a squad that can finish mid-table, and I think if we had a manager who could really get the best out of us, we could finish mid-table. And I'm starting to get a little concerned that Vita Pereira is the correct person. But I don't know if that's just me being a negative Wolves fan. I don't know.
Mm. Well, he's unlikely to go anywhere now, you would think. And if he does, he's getting a big payoff either way. So,
Yeah.
no, thank you very much. It certainly surprised me as an outsider. But moving on to Tottenham, how do you view my club Tottenham as a club and their supporters? Want you to, of course, be totally honest here. Is it a case of respecting them, envying them, not really caring? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm not just saying this because I'm on your podcast right now, but I've always had like a bit of a soft spot for Tottenham. Especially when you had Heung-min Son on your team. I
Hmm.
just love that guy so much, and I really like Thomas Frank. I think you did a very good job getting him as your manager, and also now you've lost Daniel Levy. Finally, I think you have a lot more feelings about that than I do. But as I understand, was a great decision. And you've just always been an exciting team to watch. Like even if you lose, you lose in an exciting way. So as an outsider, I think Spurs are a team I've always enjoyed watching. I have no negative feelings towards the fan base. I don't think we're big enough rivals to have any kind of hard feelings there. So I wish you all the success. Honestly, I really like
No,
Thomas Frank especially.
I really appreciate that actually, and I can almost echo that back. And again, I'm not just saying it for the sake of it, or that I'm speaking to a Wolves fan, because when Nuno, I think it was Nuno, correct me if I'm wrong, his Wolves side that come originally to the Premier League just a few years ago, which has gone really quickly, isn't it? That time, but I really like the way you kind of played. It wasn't always like interest on the eye, but I remember one game, I think it's like Man United, you played, I believe you won like 2-1. You had like the Jan Moutinho and Ruben Neves in your team. It was really exciting, and you just used to upset these games. Like Man City, I think you won that game as well, and I was like, oh come on, then. Wolves are really interesting and was like always looked at their results at one point, and then Gary O'Neill, I think, done a really good job, and I just liked how flexible he was in game and these tactics, and I thought, that's really desirable almost. And in my personal opinion, I thought he's you'll know how he's treated, of course, but it didn't end, of course, the way he would have wanted it to, and people say it's similar for his time at Bournemouth. So I felt sorry for him a little bit because I thought he in spells done really well, and you've always been an interesting side to watch. Under Bruno Lage, I didn't think maybe as much, but generally I've enjoyed watching Wolves. So there you go. Got something back on that. Not just saying it, I promise. But can I ask you if you have any past memories? It can be good, they can be bad. Totally up to you, of playing Spurs from a Wolves kind of perspective that you want to share. Of course, though, most people like to share good memories for their club.
Sure. I mean, we've had some really good results against Spurs in recent seasons. I think, was it last season when we had that Pablo Sarabia last minute goal, like that
Think
beautiful
so.
finish? I think it was last season.
Let's have a look.
Just we've had a lot of good results against Tottenham. I think we've been your bogey team a few times actually. So,
Mm.
and it's always an exciting game to watch, especially previously when you guys couldn't defend. I think you're doing a lot better these days under Frank. Van der Ven and Romero, I think I'm not just saying this again. I honestly think they're one of the best centre back partnerships in the league. Um, so I don't think they're as weak defensively as they were before. So I'm not as confident going into this game as I was previously.
Okay, thank you. And before we do get on to the game, I'm just going to read out previous meetings head to head. So last game was at Molineux, where Wolves actually beat Tottenham 4-2. They went 2-0 up in the game, and Tottenham got a goal back through Tao, and Wolves made it 3-1. It was 3-2. Tottenham had late hope. It was Charleston 85th minute, but Cunha wrapping it up in the 86th. It was 2-2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so you got 4 points off us really last year. Season before, double you done over us, both 2-1 wins at home and away, and then you beat us, if we go all the way back to March 2023, 1-0. Molineux with Adama Traore scoring, so that shows you a little
Yeah.
bit how far you were going back for that one. So no, you're absolutely right, I think, about in terms of that bogey team, which is, I think, commonly overused, but in this case, I think it's absolutely right. But actually, one last question before you do go on to the game, which is really interesting, always gets people thinking. What's the one Spurs player you take at Wolves right now? If you could take just one, and I said to you, you have to choose one, but it can't be any more or any less, who would it be?
That's a tough one. It'd probably be Kudus in the minute. I just love watching that guy. He's so attacking. He just gets so many assists. He's so creative, and that's what we're really lacking in our team: a creative player you can rely on to get you those good. I can imagine him playing with someone like Jurgen Strand Larsen. He's going to give him
Yeah.
so many good chances to score. And right now, Strand Larsen is just not getting the balls past him the way he should be. So probably Kudus. I'm also a massive fan of, like I just said, your centre backs. So I wouldn't mind one of them in the team. Romero is just a joy to watch.
100%. I mean, it's always tough because there's some clubs you come and you think, maybe you're in a very strong position, or I don't, wouldn't really want one of their players. But often it's a case of, can you just choose one? It's very tough because sometimes, you go for the best player. Sometimes you think, where are the holes in the current squad? So it's tough. So good shout out with Kudus, of course, the centre backs too. But onto the game. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts ahead of it?
Yeah, like I said, I've been really positive about going into the games against Spurs. I always feel like we can get a result. Obviously, the way the season's going right now for both of our clubs, I'm a lot less confident. Again, I do think if Vita Pereira gets his team selection correct, he gets his tactics correct, we can beat most teams. I really do strongly believe that. So it just depends which version of Wolves turn up.
Hmm.
So, I go into every game thinking we can win, and then 10 minutes in, I'm like, here we go.
Yeah. It's the hope that kills, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely is. But do you think there's an opportunity though to build on the confidence of that win? Because some people won't, maybe like outside of Wolves fans, I think realise how important this is. I actually think it's really important because Everton are a top side. Okay, they made changes. They clearly rested quite a few players. They did clearly rotate, but you still beat Everton, a side that I'm not being funny, I think will be definitely top half and probably outside spaces for Europe. Is that a confidence boosting win that you could potentially take into this game?
I think so. I mean, you saw after the game, Vita Pereira went over to the fans, did his usual celebration. The fans were all happy and cheering and singing. The players looked happy. It's the first time I've seen that in a while. So I'm hoping it instills some confidence into the team that they can take into this game. It really depends which version of us show up. We're just so unpredictable. It's ridiculous.
Mm. So you've listed the Spurs player that you would take right now at Wolves. You went with Kudus, but are there any other Spurs players you fear in terms of in this game in particular? Look at maybe your vulnerabilities so far this season. You think that Spurs player can really exploit them. It might be Mohamed Kudus.
It is Kudus. It's anyone who's going to run at our wing backs and run at our defense because
Kudus.
we just struggle, and it's going to be Kudus
Mm.
for sure. Anyone, even players like, I don't know if you'll start him, you know better than me. Players like Brennan Johnson, someone who's got the pace, who's going to really attack our defense. We just have not been strong at that lately. Especially players like Agbadu, who last season was a rock. This season, he's just making so many mistakes. He's letting people past him. He's playing poor balls straight to the opponent's attackers. So I am concerned about that.
Thank you. And on a positive note for you, anyway, do you think can hurt Spurs from you? Of course, the obvious one would be like a Strand Larson.
Yeah, I mean that's an obvious one. I do think you are there for the taking if we get that right. So I do think our centre midfielders are very strong. If we play Andre and João Gomez, you know you've had a history of João Gomez. He always plays well against Tottenham for some reason. I think if we can control that midfield, if we get the tactics right, maybe even play three in midfield like we did against Everton with maybe Bellegarde, Andre, and um, João Gomez, maybe we can get some joy there. So again, I know I keep repeating myself. It depends what version of us show up, but I do
Mhm.
think maybe players like Pedro Porro, if we get someone with pace running against him, you know,
Okay.
who knows?
Can I explore your point a little bit further in terms of you think that Tottenham could be got at in this game? Is it based on what you've seen in Tottenham this season, maybe a few gaps you've seen and maybe being open, or do you just look at this Wolves team like you've been saying and think if Pereira gets that team selection right, if you turn up for it, we see a really positive Wolves that playing their best, playing together as a unit that you can really exploit? Or so is it more, the fault of Tottenham almost?
No, it's the first one. It's more about Wolves than it is about Tottenham.
Right.
You know, I still think as good as you guys have been, I still think you're a team who's figuring out their identity under Thomas Frank. I still think there's a beatable team there. But you know, you're figuring things out a lot quicker than we are. That's the problem.
Hopefully it'll come for you over time.
I'm one thing I am worried about, just to say, is you know Van der Ven is a very pacey defender, and our attackers, particularly Strand Larsen, does not have pace. So if we do any kind of tactics where we're looking at through balls to that guy, Van der Ven's getting them every single time.
You make a very good point. However, I think Strand Larsen, I could be wrong, but I believe he has quite a good record at his time at Wolves already against Tottenham. And I think you're right, but I think Larsen's a very clever striker, and a lot of goals he scored headed goals against us, or he seems to be able to chest the ball, bring it down, swivel and shoot. And like Romero's got to be careful he doesn't get sucked into that because if you get Romero gets a yellow card, it's a different game. Or Van der Ven gets a yellow, he can't really leave his feet. So that's the situation. Wolves have got to be maybe a little bit clever. Maybe always try and wind that Tottenham defense up. So if you play
Exactly.
it right, it could be good. But Sarabia, you spoke about, the reason, from my opinion, it worked so well is Sarabia would hold the ball up, and Sarabia would give that second Spurs defender, let's say a Van der Ven, something to think about. Then Larson was left 1v1, rather than two centre backs on one. So I think Sarabia was that kind of key player that used to get in what I call the pockets, get in those holes and really give Tottenham something to think about. I mean, the amount of times that he made an impact. Even of course, he had that game, didn't we, at the Molineux? He come on, I think he got a goal and assist, didn't he? Completely changed the game. We're 1-0 up and lost 2-1. But even after that, I think he started the next time you played us at Tottenham Stadium. No goals or assists, but he looked good. So do you think you're going to miss someone like a Sarabia that just seemed a really clever player in such a big game?
For sure, we've lost a lot of experience in this team, and we've lost a lot of creativity. They're the two things that worry me the most. Even players like Ait Nuri, who seems like he's like this young guy, he has a lot of Premier League experience. He knew how to handle these games. Now we've got a lot of players who don't have Premier League experience, or they're young, or they haven't got many games under their belt period. So it's a little worrying. But again, when I said I think we can get at Tottenham, I mean, like to your point, we need to get in your heads. We need to get right up against them. We need to get Romero angry, try and get him a yellow card, something like that. I think if you let Tottenham just control possession and just play their game, we're going to get destroyed. I think we have to really go for it and really get in their heads.
Hmm. Thank you. But being rock bottom going into October already, there's going to be question marks to come back to your previous transfer window. So looking back, is there any regrets? You talk about these players you're letting go. Of course, some you've got good fees from. Do you think the club could have done better to maybe keep hold of these players, get more for these players, or ultimately get that recruitment right and maybe replace that experience that you've lost and that quality?
Yeah, I didn't mind Cunha leaving. I think we got a good price for him. I think he deserved a better club. The same as Aitner, although I think we could have got a lot more money for Aitner than we did. I think he went for cheap to
Mm,
Man City. I wasn't happy about that. But yeah, we've tried to replace them in the transfer window. We made a lot of public approaches for players, and we were rejected over and over and over again. I think the final straw for me was hearing that even players like Josh Brownhill rejected Wolves for Saudi Arabia. That just shows how far we've fallen. um, yeah, we've signed some good players. They really need time to settle in. We have the new right back to Chashua and Jackson. He's the fastest player in the Premier League right now. I'd love to see him have a race against Van der Ven. That would be close. Um, but then we signed like a left back in Muller Wolf to replace Aitner, but he's not getting games. It's more likely to be Hugo Bueno that plays there, who we got back from his loan spell. We signed Tolu as a striker, but he hasn't got many games under his belt yet. He scored his first game goal for Everton, so I'm hoping that spurs him on. And I'd love to see Wolves play two up top. So
mm.
the thing that we didn't replace was a midfielder. If we lose João Gomez or Andre at any point this season, we're in trouble. I know Krejci, who we've signed, who looks really good, can play in centre midfield, but I'd prefer him to play at the back because he played there against Everton in a back four, and he looks strong. So again, it's just about Vitor Pereira figuring this out and getting our best 11 and getting our tactics correct. No, I think we can get good results.
It'd be fair to say that the January window is quite important, isn't it? If you find yourself
Yes.
even in a similar situation, even a couple of wins, 3 wins by then. So, what do you need right now? Do you think in January? Do you think that's that midfield cover is crucial, number one at the moment?
I think so. Right now, it seems that way, and defenders because our defenders are just not performing right now. But this is what Wolves do, though. We had all summer to get in the good players, to get them in early, to really figure out identity during preseason, and we panic bought. We bought on transfer deadline day. We missed a bunch of targets. Then we struggle for half the season, and then come January, we just overpay for players, and then we're in financial trouble again. And it's just a constant cycle. We're just a really poorly run club under Fosun. So
Mm.
that's where
Shame
our
to see.
problem is.
Thank you very much. And you spoke about Pereira's lineup being hard to predict, so I'm gonna be a bit of a
Yeah,
pain here. But I will split into two parts. Going to do a predicted Wolves lineup from yourself and also your preferable Wolves lineup because I recognise there's different thoughts. I think in particular with this, your thoughts will be different to your managers. So Dan, firstly, this will probably be the tougher one for you. What is the Wolves' predicted lineup? What do you think on the day that Victor Pereira will go with? If you can talk us through it, 1 to 11, even if you
sure.
don't, agree with it, what do you think he will go with?
Sure. And again, just to preface this, like last season, I got the predicted lineup right pretty much every game, and now I can't remember. I'm not confident even getting five players correct. It's so random. Even the goalkeeper, honestly, I think we might go for Sam Johnston. 'Cause Sarr had a terrible game last game against Leeds, and Sam Johnston played in goal for Everton and against Newcastle, and he looked really good. I would love to see him given a chance. I would start him. I don't know whether Vitor Pereira is going to or whether he's going to give Sarr another
Right.
chance. But I'm going to stick my neck out and say Sam Johnson's given another shot. That's probably going to be wrong. Um, and then it's whether he goes for a back five or a back four. Because in the cup games, we've played a back four and we've looked a lot better. But in the league, he's been playing a back five. And especially against Spurs, I think he might opt for a back five again. Maybe. So I'm going to go Krejci, Agbadu, Totti as the centre backs. Hugo Bueno left back. Think he might go for the pace of Jackson at right back. Maybe. I think João Gomez and Andre in the midfield. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. It's whether he has Bellegard in there as a midfield three or not. But I'm going to go with João Gomez and Andre, and then I think he might play Munetsi. I don't like it, but I think he'll play Munetsi against Spurs. And then It's so hard to predict. Strand Larsen, I think, will start, and then it's whether he plays Arias, Fer Lopez, or Tolu with Strand Larsen. I'm gonna go with Fer Lopez.
Okay. So that's your predicted. What's your preferable then? Again, talk us through 1 to 11. What you would do if you were Pereira's shoes right now, your formation, your tactics, your starting 11.
I would play a 4-3-1-2 for sure. I just think we look so much better in that formation, and I think we have the players for it. So I'd play Krejci at centre back alongside. I'd probably play Agbadu alongside Krejci. Give him another chance. At left back, I think I would play Hugo Bueno. At right, I would play Jackson. I would play João Gomez and Andre in midfield, and in front of them, I'd have John Arias, and then I would play Tolu and Strand Larsen up front.
Okay. That's interesting. Thank you very much for that, Dan. Really appreciate it. Well, do you think there's any possibility that Matt Doherty, starts, of course, former Tottenham man?
I don't think so. He played against Everton as a right back in a back four, and he played really well. But I just, I
Really?
just, I don't see him going there against
No.
against Tottenham. No.
He's hardly at the club for long, to be honest with you. And there was a bit of a very slight, but a sour taste because of him, being an Arsenal fan as a kid. He's quite open about that, etc. It didn't really work. It felt one of those players that you always forget about and you will forget
Yeah,
about over time. One of those weird
yeah,
ones. You do get them, don't you?
yeah. You do.
But let's get into score prediction. Before I get into score prediction, hold that for just a second. Would you take a draw? If I said to you right now, draw first point of the season away to Tottenham at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, would you take that or not? Obviously, in your situation, 3 points is ideal.
Yeah, I'd take it.
You take it.
I
Okay.
would. I'd take it. I think we need points on the. I would take a good performance and a draw and a point on the table, and then take that into the next run of fixtures because we've got some good games coming up, and try and get victories in those games. I don't want us to lose again because then it's
No.
6 games lost in the league, and
Cool.
we're just confidence is going down, 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 down.
Mm. That's the thing. You start looking at the table, don't you? You start looking at the stats, the goal difference. You start looking at who's in
Yeah.
17th and that gap, 3 or 4 points. All of a sudden, then it goes to 6. It's easy to get carried away. But can I get Dan your honest score prediction and who you think's going to score?
Yeah, I,
Oh,
I I think Tottenham will win, but I don't. I think it'll be close. I'm gonna go for both teams to score. I think Wolves can score, so I'm gonna go one. I'm gonna go 2-1 to Tottenham.
okay, thank you. Any idea who you think will score from both teams, even if you give the Wolves scorer?
I mean, I'll just pick the obvious choice. I think Strand Larsen's gonna get his goal. Then that's what I'm hoping for anyway. As far as
No,
Tottenham, I don't know. Take your pick.
yeah,
Take your
fair
pick.
enough. Who do I think? So I tell you what, I'll give my score prediction. I agree with you; it's going to be tight. And I was one of these games I'm worried about. Would Tottenham drop points at home? I don't think we'll lose it because of the way we've been playing. But you just don't know. Football's football. Frank said it himself. But we just rested so many players against Doncaster. I don't see the reason why we wouldn't be, fit enough or ready. And it's nothing against Wolves, but I'm focusing on ourselves here.
Richarlison.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But a part of me thought to Wolves sit in and they make it difficult and get a draw. I can picture it in my head, Victor Pereira working hard and getting a point and you moving on. But I hate to predict Tottenham not to win. So for the sake of it, I'm going to go with a 1-0 Tottenham win. But I'm undecided between like a 1-0 or 1-1. I think the Tottenham goal will come from Xavi Simons, his first in a Spurs shirt. But before we wrap
Oh,
up, I want to do a little bit on kind of what I call Wolves' memory and identity, and then end of season predictions. So that Wolves little memory bit, it's just kind of you as a fan. Firstly, what's your earliest memory supporting Wolverhampton Wanderers?
I remember very clearly. I went to Wolves 3, Tranmere Rovers 2 at Molineux in 1997 as like an 8-year-old kid. I just revealed my age, but just going to that game and seeing us score 3 goals for the first time. I stayed outside the stadium with my brother with like a little autograph book, and I got the autographs from all the players.
Hmm.
Um, So that's definitely my earliest memory. Just hearing the music, seeing all the fans, seeing the goals, and I became a huge fan ever since.
Oh, that's great to hear. And your favourite memory supporting the club?
Oh, there's multiple. I'll go for the 2003 playoff final. Seeing us beat Sheffield United 3-0 in the playoff final in 2003, and then getting us into the Premier League for the first time I'd seen Wolves in the Premier League ever. I think that's my best memory. And then, of course, I've got a ton of good memories under Nuno, like our run in the Europa League where we could have honestly went on to win it.
Yeah.
Makes me sad to think about it. But yeah, probably
What
that.
time? Yeah, I feel sorry for Nuno. He just done such a good job at Wolves, and like go to far, he's done such a good job, and he's like kind of booted out the door. I feel
Yeah,
sorry for the guy
yeah.
at Tottenham as well. He wasn't given much time, and probably the system didn't work. Wrong time, and the club was a toxic feel after Mourinho. In so many ways, it was not necessarily the wrong appointment, but it was just wrong for Nuno as well. It was just a messy time at the club, but he was given 5 minutes. We actually top of the league when he came in. In the first few games under him, we were top, but what it was is London derbies stacked against us. We had 4 London derbies in a row, I remember, and we lost all 4 of them. So that was the thing. And we didn't just lose them, but we lost quite badly. It's 3-0, I think, Palace, 3-0 Arsenal. I think it was 2-0 or 2-1 Chelsea. Then it was 3-0 at home to United. So things like that, I think, all of a sudden tipped us over the edge. And the fans are already on edge, already annoyed at the owners. So I feel for Nuno. But you've kind of hinted and talked about it. And I know it already means a lot to you, can tell that. But if you had to summarize in a few words, and I always find it such a difficult question. What does your club, in this case, Wolverhampton Wanderers, mean to you personally? How much does it mean?
Well, that's a very deep question. I
It
mean,
is.
yeah, it means a lot. Like, honestly, I live in the USA now, and I just can't get into American sports whatsoever. No offense to anyone, but I watch football. The thing about the US is they show every single Premier League game live on TV,
Excellent.
even the 3 o'clock games. So
That's good.
I can't remember the last time I didn't watch a Wolves game. So just watching them every single weekend, watching them, um, talking about them throughout the week. It's just they're constantly in my brain, and it ruins my weekend every time they lose. So they mean everything, honestly. And I'm
Nice.
born and bred in the West Midlands, so it's in my blood too. So
Oh, that's nice. So again, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, get rid of the 3 p.m. blackout rule. I mean, America did it the right way, if you ask me on that one.
yeah, I
But
even I even get this is how much it means to me. In the US, the 12 p.m. games are at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I wake up to
wow,
watch them. So
yeah, it
that's
just
how much
shows
of
you.
a fan
Yeah,
I am.
that's all you need to say, really. I think that that qualifies you as a fanatic, if you like. But before we get to those last but not least end of season predictions, I want to know your all-time favourite Wolves player and manager. We'll start with player, and this is of all time. Have you got anyone in mind?
Yeah, I mean, when I was really really young, it was right at the end of Robbie Keane's tenure at Wolves.
Ah,
So watching him, Robbie Keane, you will know that as a Tottenham fan. Yeah,
yeah.
he started off at Wolves. I used to love that guy. I've got his autograph as a Wolves fan. Um, I used to love watching him. He's what really got me enjoying the game. But I would say of all time, it just has to be Ruben Neves. I miss him so much. He loved Wolves. He was so committed to Wolves. He still turns up at games to watch Wolves. I would be surprised if he didn't come back at some point. Um, Plus just how good he was, the goals he scored, the fact that he led the team to like the Europa League. It has to be Ruben Neves.
Does he count as a legend for you? Is a legend in your eyes? He's got to be, isn't he? As an outsider, he strikes me as a Wolves legend.
Yeah, I know he's quite a recent pick. I know I've been a fan for 30 years and I've picked a player in the last decade, but the guy's definitely a legend. Even the way he left, he made that amazing video where he was crying.
Classy.
He genuinely did not want to leave Wolves. He genuinely loves the club. He was all about the community. He was a great captain. He was a great person. So I'm talking like he's not here, but I
Yeah.
miss him at Wolves for sure.
It's that I just looked at Neves. It's quality number one, but two, I think person just seemed really likable and totally got it. And I just everything about him was just classy. And I think the way, as you said, he left and when he come into the club and what he achieved as well. He can go down as one of the best times of your club, and it's just him as a person as well. But you might be watching your situation, whether it be from afar or inside the stadium, because it's funny you said that, because I saw him in the match of the day. It brought him up that he was there, and you say it's interesting to hear that he regularly attends the games. So you might be watching and think, oh, like you hear you on here going, oh, Dan says we need a midfield depth here. I'm going to step in January. You never know.
Yep.
Do you think it's possible? That you can't discount it completely that he could be a January swoop for Neves, season long loan or something, or short term loan to bring him in and add real depth and quality?
I think he's still good enough to join one of the top teams. I do think he'll be back outside of Saudi Arabia soon, but I don't think he'll be at Wolves. I see him joining Wolves maybe when he's closing towards retirement. Maybe he's got all of his Saudi money and he wants to just have one last spell at Wolves. Maybe it's just my hope speaking, but I think he might come back at some point. Why you would go to Wolverhampton though when you could probably go to like Miami or Saudi Arabia or something? Who knows?
Very good point, I suppose. Brutal but fair. But it feels like a similar situation Harry Kane with us Tottenham fans. We want him to come back, but realistically, take your pick, Kane, where you want to go. You'll probably be accepted everywhere, and you should be. How did he get 13th? Just 13th in the Ballon d'Or. Don't get me started on that. I think that's criminal. But I could be here all day talking about that. But who's your all-time favourite Wolves manager and why? I've got a feeling that Nuno's going to be at least up there in contention.
It's Nuno. It's not even close for me. Just the memories that guy brought for the club. The sheer joy it was watching that Nuno team. It just has to be Nuno, and it's not even close for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm not surprised. End of season predictions then. Let's start with Tottenham. Where do you think Tottenham will honestly finish this season in the Premier League?
I think he'll be fighting for the Europa. I don't think he'll finish Champions League spots, to be honest, but I think he'll be fighting for the Europa League. The problem, no offense, the problem I see with Tottenham all the time is you tend to go on a good run and then just suddenly get a run of bad results, or you have a random loss against a poor team. You can never really fully trust them to get the result that they should be getting. Is my problem with it. Kind of similar to your arch rivals. I just never trust that they're going to win the league because I always think there's a slip up there somewhere. I'd probably say 6th or 7th would be my guess.
I'll take that, I think. Thank you, Dan. And lastly, for Wolves, what do you reckon?
I'm going to choose to be hopeful. I'm going to say that we'll turn it around and we'll finish 16th.
Oh, okay.
17th. 17th.
17th.
17th.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, you take that, don't you? Absolutely. It's a shame because you're good at the second half of last season, but you might still turn it around. That's the thing. Sometimes you just need a good half season and you can achieve quite a lot. So I wish you all the best for the rest of the season. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you down across all social medias?
Yeah, I'm on social medias at FPL_Blackwolf. As I said, my content is mainly around Fantasy Premier League, focusing on Wolves. So if you play Fantasy Premier League, give me a follow. I also have my own podcast at FPL USA Press Play with my American buddies, and we also talk about Fantasy Premier League. So check us out if you're interested.
I might tune in. Do you give any tips or anything? I could really do some tips. We're struggling this season.
We do give tips. However, you know, we're all doing pretty bad this season. So
oh no!
I wouldn't call us experts. We give good advice, but we don't. My buddy, my co-host, he ended up finishing 500 in the world last season. He had a very good season last season. But right now we're all in the millions, so it's not going well.
No, not at all. I mean, absolutely disastrous for me. All I will say last week is Robert Sanchez. I didn't go on that for me. He was one of the first players that played in the game. What a disaster. Just like, why? But hey, again, FPL is another thing we could talk about all day, but I don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you very much, Dan. If you're listening on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. If you're listening via audio, that's a podcast platform. Please drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Thanks for the support. As always, enjoy the game. It should be a very good one. Saturday night, 8 p.m. kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Up the Spurs.